I haven't gotten back to you, Daniela. I'm sorry for not replying to you. I haven't been on Hello Talk very much for the last week or so. So I apologize about leaving you hanging like that about the drums. I didn't forget. I just got a little bit distracted off of Hello Talk. Sometimes I need a break. Hello, Mona. How are you? Thank you. What's today about? Well, English Q&A session, English question and answer session is the name of today's stream. So in general, Daniela, you can ask me any question you have about English, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, whatever, reading, writing, listening, speaking. Or if you want to ask me about other things, that's fine too. So some people ask me questions about culture or sociology, psychology, whatever, life stuff. Some people like to ask that stuff. So that's fine too. And I do have a website that I want to show some of you guys today. Another website I started using with some of my young students, but it's really good for anybody. It's good review. Hello, Sarah. Welcome. Hello, Tanya. Daniela, there are many videos like that about how English words don't make sense. The way we pronounce them and spell them. There are lots of comedy videos like that, yeah. There are poems written about it. There are songs written about it. There are comedy routines about it. Yeah. Outside of the U.S., of course, do you have any interest in any other culture? Daniela, yeah, I'm a world culture guy. I love learning about cultures from around the world. I've been studying world culture for a long time, starting with music. As a musician, you want to experience as many kinds of music as you possibly can. And so you quickly start listening to not just American music, but you listen to music from every country and every culture and every time period. So, so I explored Indian music and African music and Asian music and, of course, European music from the present and past. And once you dig into the culture of other people, in the cultures of other peoples. It's really interesting, or at least I think I found it to be very interesting. So then I started wanting to learn about food and different food cultures because I love to cook also. So it was my connection to food and music that made me start. That led me on my journey to start learning about world cultures. So I love learning about world cultures. Travel shows are some of my favorite shows to watch. Anthony Bourdain, his TV shows all about travel and culture around the world. Great. Rick Steves, great travel shows. I love food culture shows from around the world. Hello, Flavia. Good to see you again. Hello, Fatika from Kazakhstan. Hello, Miriam and Maybe. Konnichiwa. Yes, he was amazing. Yeah, Bourdain is one of my big heroes. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to my live stream. This is English Q&A session. If you have questions about English, then you can ask me. I am a real teacher. Thank you, Fatika. I am a real teacher, so I can answer your questions about English or whatever. Okay, so if you have questions, give them to me. Maybe you have questions about grammar or vocabulary. Anyone? Or maybe you want to talk about culture. We can talk about culture too. Who would like to ask a question? Let's see. What should I do if I want to speak English as fluently as you? Jaden, well, you need to make English a big part of your life. You need to make English a big part of your life. So learning has to become a lifestyle if you want it to be effective. You can't just learn part-time. You have to make learning part of your daily life. It's not as hard as it sounds, actually. It's really a changing your mindset so that you're trying to keep your mind in a learning mode as often as possible. Okay? And Jaden, if you follow my YouTube channel, there are many, many videos on my YouTube channel that you can watch to learn about English. Here it is right here. Okay? Maybe being born in America is a good choice. Yeah, sure. If you can do that choice, then that's great. Yeah, do. How can you make your pronunciation more coherent? Chelsea, Chinese language is a small mouth language. Most of the movements involved in speaking Chinese happen inside the mouth, and it's a very small, subtle movement. American English and English in general is a big mouth language. So if you want to speak clearly, then you must open your mouth more like I'm doing now. Okay? It's enunciation. Enunciation is the key for proper pronunciation, which means proper mouth movements to make the sounds happen correctly. Okay? Can you learn English and German at the same time? You can, sure. You can learn English and German and French and Japanese and Chinese and Klingon all at the same time. But it's not always easy. German and English do have many words from English derive from German. And some of our grammar derives from German. A great deal of our grammar derives from German. So there are similarities between German and English. How can you improve your speaking skill? What should you do for this skill every day? Well, there are two parts to that question. One is, to speak well, you must prepare your thoughts well, your ability to think well. If you can't think well, then how can you speak well? So that means you need to learn how to think in English so that you're not translating everything into English from your native language when you're trying to speak with people. Because if you're trying to speak with someone and you have to translate everything that they're saying and everything you're saying before you speak, you're not going to have a good conversation. You're not going to be able to speak well. You're going to get nervous. So that means you need to learn how to think in English so that you can speak English properly. So there's one half of it, which is learning how to think in English. And the other half is practicing speaking as often as you can. So try to find native speakers to practice with on HelloTalk or in your community. Try to find non-native speakers. You're Kurdish, right? So other people in Kurdistan who speak English, not necessarily natives, just other Kurdish, people who speak English. Practice with them. It's not as good as practicing English with a native, but it's good. So you should do it. So practice with natives, practice with non-natives. Teach people what you know. If you have children or friends or family or neighbors' kids, teach some of them what you know about English. Teaching is great practice. So native speakers, non-native speakers, teaching people, and if you can't find any of those, then just talk to yourself. Okay? Talk to yourself. All right. Okay, hello. So Hamad said, what does the word hillbilly mean? Hillbilly is a slang pejorative term. It's a derogatory term. It means a person who lives in the hills, in the woods, away from society. They don't have money. They don't have education. They don't have a good means. They're hillbillies. Okay, and the word hill means they live in the hills. They live off way in the hills. And Billy comes from the name William. There's two things it comes from. It's a short form of the name William, and it also Billy was in Scottish folk tales, the word Billy was a frequent term that meant a friend, right? So in old Scottish language or old Scottish culture, To call someone a Billy was to call someone your friend. So hillbillies meant your friends that live off in the hills. Okay? You slay is it only used by girls? No, Yamu. That's a bit of that's a newer slang, a slightly newer slang to say you slay. Means to slay means to kill. It's a very formal old word that used to mean to execute or kill something. So you slay is a variant on you killed it, right? You killed it is what we say when somebody does a performance that's really good. We say, oh man, you killed it. That was so great, right? Or maybe you have a test and you get 100% on your test and you can say, oh, I killed that test. I killed it. Right? So I slayed it, you slay is a variant on you killed it. Okay? Kiki, for example, what? What did you want me to give you an example of? Sorry, I didn't catch up to that. Thank you, Dominica. Thinking is the fifth skill. Raina, you've listened to me before. That's right. Reading, writing, listening, speaking, thinking. And thinking's the most important one. Yeah. I was teaching my friends, and I was a good teacher to them, but they say you're not a native. My pronunciation is good, but they're annoying me. Yeah, well, if your friends can't appreciate what you're doing, then don't do it. But, yeah, I agree. Maybe you're not a native, but you're still teaching. You don't have to be the perfect teacher to teach well. You have to be exciting, you have to be interesting, and you have to be patient. If you can be those three things, then you can teach, period. So you don't have to be native and with a PhD in English to teach someone. Thank you, Raina. How do I view independent women and feminism? Chelsea, that's bordering on talking about politics, but I will just tell you that I like independent people, period. I think everybody has a creative mind that needs to be explored and valued. So, woman or man, that's what matters. Okay? Good for you, Dominica. Keep going. Okay, I know somebody's raising their hand, I think, yeah? If you want to raise your hand and come on the stage, you can. You're welcome, Yamu. How can you learn English grammar? Well, Miriam, you need a grammar book probably, but there are also many grammar websites that you can learn from. I'm going to show you one here in a minute. One moment here. Hello, Raghu. So let me show you this website that I found that I like, that I use with my young students mostly, but I use it with my adult students too, because there are just so many good games on this website that are valuable for practicing and learning and improving your English. All right, so let's take a look at this really quickly here. So this is a website called games2learnenglish.com. games2learnenglish.com. And if you take a look here, they have many, 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 many games with many topics. And so just to give you an idea, I'm going to show you a few of these today. For example, Monster Vocab is interesting here. So there's a game that you can play, but first you have to choose a topic. So they have all these different topics here that you can choose. So if you choose animals, for example, up here in the corner. So now you have all these vocabulary words you can review, right? So rabbit, butterfly, bird, and if you click on them,
butterfly, bird, rabbit, shark.
You can hear them, right? And so you review all these different animals. And then when you click play,
Spider,
Now you have to choose which one is a spider. Oh, okay, there we go. Spider. Panda.
Fox.
Okay, this one over here, right? Pig.
Shark.
Okay, so this is really good. Even if you're, even if you've been learning for a while, it's still a good one.
Chicken.
Yeah. So here's this. That's the vocabulary one, right? But they have this other one here for grammar, for learning how to do sentence structure, right? Let's start with medium. So for this one here, stage 1 is usage, right? So now what we're going to do is you have to make a sentence and try to eliminate the bubbles, right? So for example, I use my mouse. Right? So you have to find the words that work together. I use my laptop.
I use my charger.
Right? You see how that works?
I use my headset.
Yeah, this is a great practice for sentence structure, right?
I use my monitor. I use my watch.
Okay, so here's a good one for learning, sentence structure, right? And some vocabulary too. They have this one here about phrases. So let's choose here, like they are talking, right? She is eating pizza.
She is eating pizza.
Right? He's putting on a coat. She is getting a book. The birds are flying over the mountain, right? So you have to review them first. And then, once you're ready, let's see. How's that work? Let's do slow. Round 1. Start. She. Oh, no, not she, right?
They are
chopping, putting, or talking?
Talking.
Right. They are, she is, or he is?
He is.
Yeah, it is British English. That's the only downside. Chopping. What is he chopping? Eggs, carrot, or an onion? Looks like an onion to me.
An onion.
He is.
He is.
Flying, pointing, or putting on.
Putting on.
A coat, a hat, or a shirt.
A coat.
Right? Yeah, it's fun, right? And it's quick and easy, right? So the website is called games2learnenglish.com. Right up here in the top. Games2learnenglish.com. Games2learnenglish.com. All right? And again, look at how many games they have here. Adjectives, body parts, adverbs, adverbs of frequency, anagrams, phrasal verbs, present, jobs, games, food, spelling bee, months, time. Yeah. So it's really, really good. Okay, and yeah, I do believe it's with a British accent for most of it. I think, if not all of it, I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter whether it's British English or American English. It's still really good. Okay. So there you go. That's another good way to work on your grammar, right? Lungster. You choose the level and it gives you very short stories and general cultures that can be read. Well, that's interesting. I'll check that out, Rafiq. I'll check that out. Hello, Sarah. How are you? And hello, Steph. How are you? Everyone's a critic. Hello, Bellin. How are you? When you finish reading that application, it gives you short questions about the topic. That's good. Yeah, see, you could do that with any Chat GPT type AI app, Rafiq. Any AI app, you can ask it, tell me a story about something or create a story about something and then review my comprehension, right? Review some questions about the plot for me or the topic for me, right? That sounds good, Rafiq. Thank you for your suggestion. How are you, Bellin? And hello, Zoe. Yes, hello, Zoe. All right, Dominica, study hard. Okay, so raise your hand if you want to come talk to me. What's the difference between coworker and colleague? Nothing. Nothing. Actually, they mean pretty much the same thing. Let me check something. So coworker, co means together, and worker means a worker at the, somebody who works there, right? A person who works, right? So co-worker means working together, workers who you work together with, right? Colleague, in this case, comes from collegia, meaning a partner in office. So it means together. It's like a group of workers together, a group of people together is colleague. So colleague and coworker are pretty much the same thing. My colleague told me this, my coworker told me this, same thing. Okay? Hello, Lillian. No, you can look at those things online. No. Google those questions. I don't want to talk about guns. Such a stupid topic. Okay, let's see. Abu wants to come talk to me and practice his rusty English.
Hello, Mark.
Hello,
I think
Abu. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Are you driving?
I'm not gonna talk about that. Yeah. What's up, Mark? How's
Please,
it going?
please be careful, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty much an expert on that
Okay.
matter. So,
All right. Okay. All right. I just
Yeah.
don't want to get in any trouble here.
no, don't worry. We're good.
All right. So how are you?
I'm doing well. It's a pretty hectic day. I'm doing some paperwork for government stuff like
Wow.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been out since 7 in the morning, and it's almost five in the evening right now.
Wow. Long day.
I'm still out. Yeah, going here and there.
Okay. And you're in where are you in UAE or where is that?
No, I am in Kuwait.
Oh, okay.
I used to live in the U.S. For 6 years.
Okay. Well, that's why your English is so good.
Well, I hope so. So,
Yeah. No,
1
your
year
English
in
sounds great.
Texas. Howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah, yeah. So, my English is pretty rusty, I would say, because I don't use it that often here. Only just some like in office we use it, but like it's just let's say job related or just work related English. Because I work in it's a local, not an international company, but we have a lot of foreign workers, so
Okay.
we use English. But
Okay.
it's not the English I used to have when I was in the U.S. Of course, it's been 8 years since I left the U.S. almost.
Okay. Well, your English sounds really good to me still, so that's good.
Thank you, Mark. I was just waiting for that.
Yeah. No. Your English sounds good. It
The
doesn't sound
thumbs up.
doesn't sound rusty to me at all.
That's cool. Okay.
What I would tell you is that it doesn't matter where you live. It matters what you think where you live.
Yep.
So you can practice your English anytime you want, Abu. Your English is quite good, so that means that you can think in English anytime you want to. And thinking in English is practicing English.
Yep. That's true.
So that means you can live your day just like you did today from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. running around doing stuff. Do what you just did today, but spend more time doing that using your English mind, not your Arabic mind.
That's true, and I actually do that sometimes. Actually, I have one friend of mine who is like a few steps ahead of me. He started dreaming in English. Like that's
Right.
that's a level that I haven't reached
That's
yet.
when you start thinking in English more, then you will start dreaming in English. Yeah, the more
Yeah.
more time you spend with a language, then the more likely it is you're going to start dreaming in that language. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But he's way ahead of me, so I guess.
Well, I
yeah.
bet you'll be soon behind. Don't worry.
Well, thank you, Mark, for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
I hope my English wasn't rusty.
No,
so
your
thank
English
you so much for
wasn't
the
rusty at
opportunity.
all. No, you sounded great. You sounded great. So just keep working on it and focus on thinking as often as you can. Practice English when you can, of course, but at your level, they used to tell you, Abu, what they used to say is if you don't use your language, you will lose your language, right? So, for example, they would say, maybe you didn't practice speaking French for many years and now you can't speak French well. Well, that's only true. It only is true if you stop thinking in that language. But if you continue to think in that language, then you keep your language fresh. Understand?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I still watch a lot of like documentaries and this kind of videos that contain higher level of English. I still watch them without any subtitle or I'm perfectly fine with them. I understand almost everything. But speaking is the only I wouldn't say obstacle, but it's the only thing I'm missing, I guess, here in Kuwait.
Well, then, yeah, if you can't get speaking, I live in the United States, but I practice Chinese by thinking. By thinking.
Oh, okay.
That's what I do, is I just live my day thinking in Chinese as often as I can. Is it as good as talking with people and interacting? No, of course not. But it's still good. And actually, in some ways, it's better, because when you think in a language, it forces you to define your world using that language. Right? So that means you have to look around and figure out, how do I say that thing in English? Maybe I never thought about that before. What is that called in English? Or what is that thing? Or how do I express this feeling or this idea? Right? So, you know, the more time you spend trying to define your world, that's practical. That's really practical. Right? So you're not just learning a language, you're learning the language of your life.
Exactly.
You know? So that's why thinking is such a critical part of language learning in particular. All learning, but language learning in particular.
I think one of the obstacles I faced when I learned English in the beginning was I was afraid to do two things. I was afraid to make mistakes in grammar, and I was afraid of using wrong vocabulary. So I get nervous when I feel like I'm going to make a mistake. So I used to focus on the language, these details. But then maybe I just widened my thinking, and I started thinking in English, as you said, and it made life much easier, actually.
Yeah, it's a huge part of language. When native speakers learn languages, they understand that the language you speak and the language you think are connected, right? So if you grow up learning more than one language, for example, if you're in Switzerland, you know Swiss and German and French and Italian, right? Okay. Yep. But do you think that they have one main language that they use in their mind all the time, and then they translate all the other ones? Or do they think in German when they speak German? Do they think in Italian when they speak Italian? Do they think in French when they speak French? Of course, they do it that way, right? When they're speaking French, they're thinking French. When they're speaking Italian, they're thinking Italian. So if native speakers grow up learning it that way, then why do we change it? For non-native speakers, when you learn a second language, for some reason, we think that the way it's supposed to work is we're supposed to translate everything in our mind, right? So you think in your native language, and then you have to take time to translate everything. That's not the way it's supposed to work with language. The way it's supposed to work with language is that you're supposed to be developing your ability to think using that language in your mind, because thinking is where speaking starts, right? So if you can think well, then you can express your words well. But if you have to take time to think, then of course you can't speak well.
Yeah, as the saying says, speak your mind. So it's actually
that's right.
Quite literal,
speak your mind.
I guess.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it is quite literal. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. I actually forgot about thinking in a language, but you're just reminding me. So I appreciate that.
It's the keystone of my teaching method, is the idea that thought is the most important part of language, and you can't have good reading, writing, listening, or speaking if you don't have good thinking. So I spend a lot of time focused on practical acquisition of language learning, and that means focusing on trying to learn how to develop your thoughts in that language. Because you can spend so much more time. Helpful. Yeah, you can spend a lot more time practicing thinking than you can speaking. And you don't even need a second person to practice thinking.
Yep, exactly. Right? You just need yourself and a clear mind.
That's right. So, and you're thinking all the time anyway. So why not make it practical, you know? Yeah.
That's
so,
true.
Abu, your English is great. Keep working on it.
Thank you, Mark. I need to focus on the road. I mean, English, my English.
No, right. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I'll
just give the chance for others who want to join.
All right,
sure.
Okay.
I'll just stay here listening.
All right. Take care, my friend.
Thank you so
I'll see
much.
you. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Okay. So let's see. Mansoor says, I always dream in English and speak very well in the dream. Does that mean I'm solid in it? It definitely means that you're doing well in English. I think if you start dreaming in English, then it means you're doing pretty well, or you're really spending a lot of time and energy on English. And Steph, how do you think in a language? You start with simple thoughts. Like, Steph, essentially you have to imagine that every language you learn is a new child. It's a new child's mind, right? So if you learn, let's say you're learning English, I'm a native English speaker. Let's say I'm learning Chinese and German and Spanish at the same time, right? So if I'm trying to do all three of those languages at the same time, I have my English brain, my English mind, which is an adult mind, and I can think adult thoughts with it. But my Chinese mind is only about teenager level of language ability. So I can only have teenage level thoughts at this stage. My Spanish and my German are very poor, so they're babies. They're just babies, right? They can say Guten Tag and, Danke and Bitte and, Wie geht's, right? Vielen Dank, right? Simple things, right? Like that, Hola, mucho gusto, gracias, adios, right? Simple. Those are simple things. And here's the thing. So I have my adult English mind. It's here because I use it all the time. Then I have my Chinese mind, which is a teenage level, and it's here, and I'm getting better, but I need to use it more. The more I use it, the more it will grow, right? And then my German mind and my Spanish mind, I need to use those more so that they can grow. So when I tell you you need to think in a language, I mean you need to train your mind to use the language and start from a child, start from a baby in your approach. That's the reason why it's confusing to so many of you. When I say think in English, you think that's not possible. How can I have my native thoughts in another language already? You're right, you can't. Because you have one mind that's an adult mind and the other mind is a baby mind, so you can't have equal thoughts. So it means you have to start training that baby mind using the idea that it's a baby. So just give it baby thoughts to begin with. And then once it gets a little older, they start asking a lot of questions, and you can, where is this, when, why, how, what, right? That's the elementary level, right? So my approach of learning how to think in language starts with baby English, then elementary English, where you ask a lot of questions, like who, what, when, where, why questions. Then we have high school level English, where you're able to express yourself pretty well about where you're from, what you do, what you like, your present, your past, your future, your hobbies, your interests, your goals, your dreams. That's high school level English. And then we have stage 4, which is adult, college level, advanced English, talking about politics and religion and philosophy and those types of things, economics. Those are very difficult topics to talk about. So I think about developing language thinking in 4 stages: baby English, elementary English, high school English, and adult English. Okay? Sorry that took a long time to explain. Hello, Den. How are you? Good to see you, Den. And Lillian, yeah, let me get you on the stage here for just a minute. Thank you, Jesus. How are you? Okay, sorry, I'm trying to catch up with the comments here. Yes, so look around your room and think like a baby in Korean and Chinese. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. How Joe Bujen, Peter? Why do I think that second languages are not introduced until high school in the U.S.? Daniela, that's a complicated question to answer, actually, Daniela. It's a good question, but in America, most students, not all, but most students don't learn a second language until high school, right? So in high school, we're required to take a few years of language, but that's it, okay? Now, there are some special schools that are dual language schools, right? And you can choose to go to those from a very young age, right? There's a German school and a French school and I think a Chinese school maybe even now. But most people don't learn a second language till high school. Why is that? Mostly it is geographic, okay? Because America is a big country and only has two other countries bordering it, really, right? Canada and Mexico, two other major countries, right? So, and Canada speaks English almost the same as we do, right? Nearly the same. Mexico is, of course, a very important country, but it's a very poor country. And so it's not considered to be on the same, it doesn't have the same level of cultural dominance that America does in terms of language, right? Certainly Spanish is very, very, very dominant here. It's like the second most important language to have in the United States, for sure. There are a ton of Spanish speakers here, which is great. But the pressure is on people to learn English, not the other way around, right? That's kind of how it feels. So there's a lot of Americans who don't feel a particular pressure about language learning. If you grew up in France or Sweden or Spain, you're close to many other countries that have many other languages. So there's a sense of pressure or cultural sharing that happens that makes you appreciate language learning from a completely different place because you're close to them. But we're not close to any other languages, so we don't feel that same pressure. That's a big part of it. Then I think there is also somewhat of a political part of it as well. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Yeah, but that's my general sense is that it's mostly just a geographic fact that because we don't live near people who speak other languages, we don't feel any sense of need for it. Yeah. Okay, Lillian, I think I'm ready for you now. I'm drinking coffee. Thank you, Q47. That was nice of you to say. You bring news today. What's your news, Lillian? Yeah, Daniela, there are some other not nice ways to express that idea of why we don't learn languages till later, but yeah. Okay, let me talk to Lillian for a minute, and then there are many people waiting in line, Lillian, so I need to try to talk to a lot of people today. So let's see, what's Lillian's news?
Hi, Teacher Mark.
Hello, Lillian, how are you?
Not too bad, and you?
I'm okay, I'm not too bad. So what's your news?
Actually, today I finished my presentation about this weekend, and of my public speaking with
Good.
the native speakers, even though the host for American. So I just made the successfully to my public speaking, and the topic is about the Teachers' Day and Media Autumn Festival, and I just made it the successful presentation.
Good. Congratulations.
Weekend.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm sure you did great.
Thank you.
I'm sure you did
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
But when I get into the stage, and I feel so nervous, sometimes.
That's normal. Yeah, that's normal. That's honestly, if you want to not be nervous anymore, then you have to do it again and again and again and again and again. That's the only real way to get rid of your nerves.
Actually, every time I just making the presentation on the English corner, and I feel so nervous anytime. I am not why, and that is just my skill rate, and I just wanted to try to fix it up with my self confidence.
You're doing fine. Your self-confidence is better than most people. So don't worry about it, Lillian. You just have to keep trying and keep working on it.
Okay.
That's the secret to success, is not giving up. And you don't give up, so that's good. Okay?
Yeah. And I just wanted to telling you the good news, and also proud of me.
Yeah. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. Good for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Keep working on
You are
it,
pretty
okay,
nice.
Lillian?
Yeah.
All
You're
right.
pretty nice.
Well, congratulations, Lillian. Let's give her a round of applause, and thank you for coming to tell me the good news, and come back and see me again, okay?
Okay. And before I go, and I wanna say, Happy Media Autumn Festival to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Moon Festival is my favorite one, actually. So
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
your Mid-Autumn Festival, and I'll see you next time, okay?
Okay, so
Okay.
next time,
Bye,
Teacher
Lillian.
March.
Well, that's nice to know. She did well on her presentation, so that's good. Q47 said, I'm a composite materials design and processing engineer. I try to combine language with workflow and processing steps. Right. Yeah, you're an engineer. You understand the idea that integrating something into a consistent process is a good way to learn. Right? It's a good way to grow. So that's what I do with learning in general, is I always try to find some way to integrate learning into my lifestyle, my daily routine, so that it's not a special thing that I do for a special amount of time every day. No, it's a dedicated lifestyle. Yeah. Which websites do I recommend for learning to practice English? ESLfast.com. ESLlab.com, and Games to Learn English.com. Those three websites are great for learning English. There are many others as well. Do a little research. Okay, what do I think about the effects of education background to learning a new language skill? I'm not sure what you mean, Q47. Right. No, I understand what you mean. Yeah. So, depending on what field you went into, the field that you go into might, not always, but might have guided your mind towards a certain way or method of doing things, right? So I'm a musician, so I apply all of the skills that I learned from learning music and how to read music and play music and understand music to language learning, right? So it's the same thing, right? Whatever your background is, you might use that methodology upon a new thing that you're studying or learning. That's natural. It's applied techniques. Sometimes it works properly, but to be honest, it's really not so easy as it seems because it requires too much effort to handle and overcome. Well, maybe Q47, you might be trying to do too much too soon. to use engineering terms, a simple bridge built well is better than a complicated bridge built poorly. So instead of worrying about trying to do so much and so many difficult things, try to do fewer simple things really well. Yes, my birthday is coming. That's right. Yeah. No, it's tomorrow. Hello, Tank. I like my mic too. Depends on many variables, but I guess there should be special tips and tricks to make it easier to improve such issues. Yeah, right. There are. Yeah. But it's really about awareness of learning process. I think that most people, 98% of people, are not aware of their learning process. They're not really aware of how they learn. They don't have a specialized concept or process for learning. Every time they learn in a very traditional way that feels like it's something outside of you to do, not something that's part of your life. And that's why, they don't learn well. Yeah. Okay, who else wants to come talk to me? Let's talk to Song of the Beach. I love that name. Hello, Song. How are you?
Has been noticed. I'm so glad to be here.
It's nice to have you. How are you?
Thank you for inviting me. I am good. How about yourself? I'm trying to set up my how it's called phone holder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can call it a holder. Yeah. Take your time. No worries.
Sorry.
That's okay. Take your time. Thank you, Daniela. Take care. Have an amazing day.
Okay, here I am.
Nice to see you.
It's my first time here on your stage.
I've seen you in my audience many times. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. I've been here many times, but finally I've got my chance to join the stage. You're too popular, Teacher Mark. It's really hard to get here.
No, it's actually just because I don't bring people on stage as often as I should probably. But the reason why I don't do that is because sometimes when I bring people on stage, I feel like there are 300 people watching and I'm only talking to 5 people during the whole 2 hours or 3 hours, right? So when I answer questions in the audience just by, reading them, I can answer many, many people's questions and I feel like I'm helping more people. So I have to balance this idea that I want to talk to people because I love talking to people from around the world and trying to help them with their questions. But I also think that I answer a lot more questions and I help a lot more people when
I understand.
Yeah, but I also hate listening to myself talk all day. So, yeah.
So, I don't know if you remember, but I actually have been knowing you for quite some time because I'm also an old user of HelloTalk.
I do remember.
And once I even was a member of your chats, like even long time before the live streams. You created some chat groups maybe to help your students or whoever they were, I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't one of them.
Well, thank you for your loyalty.
You're welcome. I mean, this app has been helping me for I think a lot, actually.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And I always tell people I love this app for learning languages, but I really think that's a shallow part of what this app offers. Language learning is great, but the connecting with people from around the world and being able to meet people from other cultures and other countries in this way on this kind of an app is completely unique and very, well, valuable is an understatement, in my opinion. You can meet people from other countries on Facebook, but it's not easy, and it's not designed for that. It's not designed for you to like, oh, well, let me talk to somebody in Russia, and say hi or something, This is, and yeah, so if you like feeling like you're connected to the global community, then it's amazing.
Totally.
Yeah.
That I love it. I love it too. And I was a live streamer as well for like a year, but I quit this business.
Yeah, why? What drove you out?
I thought I'm gonna use it for practicing my language skills, for improving my communication skills, my public speaking, all of that stuff through my live streams. But what I've discovered, people with high levels of English don't really join me. I mean, I get it. They prefer to speak with an English native speaker instead.
Right.
And so to me, it looked like people weren't ready for my topics. They just simply didn't understand, and these kind of things. Also, I feel like I started doing it at not in a very good time period, because I was getting a lot of hate due to the political situation simply because of my flag. It also was, hard for me to deal with. I don't really have the thick skin for that. I wasn't ready. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
and
I feel lucky about that I've been here for a long time on this app, and even as a streamer, I expected to get a bit more just anti-American stuff from just in general. I expected some random people just pop on every once in a while and just say something just because I'm an American, right? Unfortunately, I haven't had much of that. Only a few times it's happened here and there, and it's usually very short. Just somebody comes on and says something stupid, American pig or something like that, whatever. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. I am not my government, and
that's fine.
you know what I mean? So whatever they do, whatever my government does, nobody talked to me or asked me what I thought.
That's right.
Right. So
actually, most people understand it.
Right. Most people do. But yeah, it's a funny thing. Nationalism, because again, it's like it's what they say happens to you when you go into outer space and you're able to look at the Earth from outer space. When you can see it from the moon or from a spaceship orbiting the Earth, you look down and you don't see any lines on maps, and
That's a good one.
And now you see just the weather, and how we're all connected. And you feel many astronauts have written about how that's one of the most, it's the strongest feeling that they have when they get out there and they see the world and they're so far away and they see everything as one now. It's a completely different feeling, and it makes you realize how silly and stupid a lot of it is. Like, there was one guy I just read about just recently. He said something I really liked. What did he say? Something about, he said something like, when I was up there, I didn't see an economy, which is brilliant, because that's how we often refer to our world, is from economic standpoints, right? Because that's really what drives most everything between the competition between all of us. And we all, why are we not fixing the climate problem? Because it's expensive, and that's our argument. Our argument is, well, it's expensive, and it's like
That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous argument.
right? It's hilarious, right? It's expensive to not, die. Right? So, but that's what I liked when he said that was, I didn't see an economy when I was up there, I saw a group of people who need to work together to do things. Right. And it's the natural progression of things. Right. 10,000 years ago, if you grew up in a tiny little village, that was your world. That was the only world you knew, was this tiny little village, and that was it. You knew that your little area. And then a few thousand years later, our villages got a little bit bigger, and our world got a little bit bigger. A couple of villages we knew about. And then we started growing more outwardly, and we became city-states and territories, and then we became countries, and now we've been stuck at this phase of thinking ourselves as nations for a while now. Since about 1500 is about when the first countries were really formed, as we know them now. It's been over 500 years or whatever, so it's the natural progression of things for us to eventually start thinking of ourselves as a bigger community, right? That's what happened. Our sense of community grew. You start with feeling like you're in a tiny little village, but then your sense of what world you belong to grows, and that's why I like using Hello Talk, because it makes me feel like I'm connected to the entire Earth, not just one little town, Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So, that's why I like talking to people from around the world. I don't feel like I'm, talking to... I feel like I'm connected to a big community. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it also really helps to me as someone who's living in China now. I've been here for 5 years. And I feel a bit isolated and lonely. So this app really, helps me to connect with people and do not feel lonely most of the time.
Yeah, and that's hard. Although be careful with that. Where are you in China? What city?
The city is called Chongqing.
Chongqing, okay. Enjoy that Sichuan food. I love it. Not as spicy. Are you a spicy fan?
I have to say, my mouth likes it, my stomach doesn't.
Yeah, but that's, to be honest with you, I think that's most people, even Chinese people. I think that they go into it knowing it's going to hurt. I think that's just the nature of things. Anyway, you still need a community, though. If you don't want to feel alone, that was one thing I really did like when I lived in Taiwan. Was when I was teaching English there, I felt like I was part of this new community of expatriates that all were living in this foreign country, doing something. Most of us teaching English. So when I'd go out to the bar at night, it was like having a drink at the UN. There's a guy from Canada and a guy from England and a guy from Belgium and Australia and New Zealand and all these guys hanging out together. And we're all doing a similar job in a similar field, trying to do a similar thing. And to be an expatriate, to move to another country, you have to have a certain kind of adventurous mindset to begin with, so there was this new camaraderie, this new community that I felt part of that was really amazing, and I do miss that tremendously because I think that it's hard to find communities anymore. Social media has brought us together, but it also has pulled us apart. But
I get it. But also a foreign community here isn't big, especially after the pandemic. Maybe people start coming again.
Yeah.
But many people left.
Yeah, I'm sure. But sometimes a small community is better. It's tighter. again, that was one thing I liked about being a musician also in Taiwan, was that when I was in Taiwan, the whole country of Taiwan, the whole area of Taiwan is the size of my state, right? And so that area, there are not that many musicians who are professionals in that entire area. So again, you get to know them all very quickly. And even though I'm living in this city and he's living in this city, we all talk to each other all the time and work together all the time. Because it's a small community, because there's not many people, we all have to know each other to come together to work, right? So we'd play gigs in Taipei, and it would be a guy from one city and another city and another city all coming up together to work in Taipei together, you know? So
That makes sense.
yeah, so remember, you know, sometimes a big community is not a good thing. Sometimes a small community is a little bit tighter knit, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I had my community because before coming to Chongqing, I lived in Changsha for 3 years. Have you ever heard of that city?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, there I had great friends, but I just felt like the city was just so boring for me. I just couldn't. I really wanted to move to the first tier city, and
Right.
I found job here. So
Well, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I miss is I'm a city guy. You know, I live in Ohio, so I live in the, you know, a nature area, very natural area, lots of parks and woods and forests, and I can go hiking in my backyard anytime I want to. But I love being able to walk out my door and walk to the grocery store and walk to work and walk to my friend's place and walk to the restaurants and walk in my neighborhood, just walking everywhere. I didn't have a car for 4 years. I didn't drive for 4 years. It was amazing. It
Wow,
was awesome.
that's rare for an American person.
Oh yeah, it was very rare. Yeah, but it was awesome. It was really great because it taught me that I didn't need a car in that kind of a community. I didn't need one at all, you know. I could get around with bikes and walking and taxis and Uber and buses and, you know, the trains, MRTs and subways and high-speed rail. I mean, you know, I could get around really well and easily without one. It was one less thing to worry about. Yeah. So walking is underrated. Yeah, I loved my walk to work every day. You know, it was so nice. Such a great feeling to walk through a neighborhood and see people just living their lives, you know. Yeah. So, have you been learning Chinese since you've been there or no?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
You know, I was kind of having an experiment. I was curious how much of Chinese can I pick up just like naturally, because people always talk about the importance of the environment and blah, blah,
Right.
blah, that it can like boost your language skills. And actually, if you don't put any effort,
No, that's
it
right.
doesn't really
That's right.
help.
So when I moved to Taiwan, I could have gotten a job in Taipei, and there were so many jobs there, and I love Taipei, but I chose to go to Taichung, which is in the middle of the country instead, because if I moved to Taipei, I didn't need to speak Chinese. There were
Right.
plenty of people who spoke English, and I could get away with it. It was so much more expected to just be able to use English there. But Taichung, no. So, you know, you're forced to get out in the world and attempt to use the language that you're trying to learn. Now, I will tell you, though, I was there for 4 years, and for that time period, I don't really feel like my language improved that much. It did in two ways. I was learning to speak a bit more, but the kids always made fun of me anytime I would speak because my accent was just so terrible, right? You know, but listening was really important. It was huge because this is one parallel to language and music that's very similar. When I was younger, when I was about 15 or 16 years old, I started learning how to play jazz music, jazz drumming, right? And I used books to do it. So I could play the technique. I could play it, but it didn't sound good. And the reason it didn't sound good was because when I was 15 or 16 years old, I was listening to rock and roll and funk and, blues. I was not listening to jazz. So because I didn't listen to it, I didn't understand what it was supposed to really sound like when I played it. Same thing happened to me with Chinese, that when I was in the United States learning Chinese, I couldn't really learn it because I couldn't hear it well enough to learn what it's supposed to sound like. But when I lived there, suddenly I'm immersed in, and I could hear the language all the time, and you get used to knowing what it's supposed to sound like. That's critically important to learn a language well, is to understand what the expectation of sound is. And so when you have enough time to live in a place where you feel like you're there, then you can get used to that. But when I got back to the United States, that's when I got worried that I was going to lose my language. And that's when I came up with this whole concept of thinking in the language to try to practice your language. So that's what I do, is I spend time still thinking in Chinese. And my Chinese got much, much better. So my Chinese now is much better than it was when I was living in Taiwan, which is funny. But it's because
I feel like I will start seriously learning Chinese only when I leave China.
I know it's kind of funny that way. Well, but what I would encourage you to do, since you're there, you can learn from my mistake in that you need to, again, engage the process of thinking in Chinese every day. That's the secret of starting to feel like you are really acquiring the language, is once you feel like you are waking up and saying, well, dude's, 我要吃什么? Like when once you start thinking, I'm hungry, what do I want to eat? And you just think in those simple terms of like, 今天我需要做什么? What do I have to do today? Whatever, simple things that are just part of your daily life, and you start living in the language, that makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say that I remember myself when I knew like all the English grammar rules. I had enough of vocabulary, but I still couldn't speak. And I couldn't like understand how to break that barrier. And when it happened, I didn't even realize what did I do. Like I remember I started participating in speaking clubs a lot, but I already had enough of tools here to participate. But with Chinese, I don't have that yet.
Well, it's like I said, you have to imagine every language you learn has a maturity level, right? And so when you're learning a new language, you're at a baby maturity level. So you can only have baby thoughts. But that's why I'm trying to tell you, that's the disconnect that people have, is when I tell them you need to think in the language, they get upset, or they don't understand how that's possible, because I'm asking them to think adult thoughts with a baby mind. You're right, it's not possible. I'm not asking you to have adult thoughts. I'm asking you to have baby thoughts and develop them. That's how you're going to grow it into an adult, is by using it. That's the only way. It's the only way. So,
right.
And it really integrates the language into being part of your life.
Yeah, right. And I brought one more question for you regarding of high levels. So if we speak about English specifically, so for example, the last week I watched the debates. Two potential presidents were debating. I understood every single word. There wasn't even one word I didn't know. However, I cannot produce English at the same level. How to level up?
Okay, well, do remember that those are politicians. Their job is public speaking. You know, I mean, that's their entire job. Now, there is an important point that you made, though. You understood every word. There's a good reason why you understood every word. I'm going to try to give this answer without getting into politics too much, but...
You mean they downgrade their level on purpose?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
To be closer to the audience.
That's right. It's like newspapers do the same thing. Newspapers could write with great, huge vocabulary words, but they try to keep everything at about a 6th grade level because a 6th grade level means everybody can read it, everybody can understand, everybody can relate. When you language is a way to connect with people, but it also can be a way to disconnect from people, depending on how you use your language, right? So when you use simple language is inclusive. When you use difficult language, it's exclusive, which means there will be some people who now feel like you're not even talking to me because you're using words I don't understand. Right? So as politicians, in particular, they
Okay, that wasn't a good example. Let me give you another one.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So, have you ever heard of a Canadian professor, the author of 12 Rules of Life?
I don't know. Let me see. That sounds kind of familiar, but let me double check.
Patterson? Was it Patterson? Well, I forgot.
Peterson. Yeah, that's
Peterson.
What I thought. Yeah, right. What about him?
So I read the book. It's like really high level. I found a lot of C2 words. C2 level words there. But I was like, I've never heard those words.
Right.
Like, do I even need to memorize them if nobody really uses them?
So it's funny you chose Jordan Peterson. For the exact same reason, that's why he uses those words. So
You sound smarter.
that's exactly right. He is a BS artist. And so one of the greatest things that you can do as a BS artist is to use language that makes you sound like you really know what you're talking about, because there will be a certain group of people who, as soon as they hear words they don't know the meaning of, they immediately think that they're too stupid to be a part of that conversation. So you must be right and they must be wrong. That's the nature of what he does. There's a few people who are on the market today who use this kind of idea of, by elevating their language, they make themselves seem like they're above the fray, and somehow you can't even think on their level because you're not using the same vocabulary as they are. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. And especially for Peterson, because he's in the field of mental health and psychology and
philosophy, yeah.
Right, and philosophy kind of too, yeah. He's kind of a self-appointed philosopher. I mean, I guess they're all self-appointed in some way, but you know, philosophers are like artists. They're usually not truly appreciated until they're gone. Right. And that's for good reason, actually, in some cases, especially philosophers, because greatness is not something that you declare. It's something that others declare.
Right. Right.
So when you say I'm the greatest, blah blah blah, you're not. You're immediately not. By saying that you're the greatest, you immediately are not. That's what other people say it about you, not you say it about yourself. You know.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's why they always say, you know, if somebody tells you they have all the answers, believe that they don't. You know, because nobody has all the answers, and the person who's sure they do definitely doesn't. Yeah. So anyway, it sounds to me like you're at a very high level of you know, English for sure, if you're considering these topics, right? These are finite points of language that you're considering. But it's funny because you made the same point just in two different ways. Politicians who use simplified language to be more inclusive and connect more with more people, and snake oil salesmen who use big words to try to convince everybody how brilliant they are, so that they don't confront them about anything. And, here's the funny thing about Peterson is that not all of, I'm not a huge fan, clearly. Not everything he does is bad. He has made a few good points, but that's the dangerous thing about being a BS artist is that the best way to lie is to say mostly truth. So when you say things that are true and you say, well, this is definitely real and this is definitely this, then you can say something that's not and get away with it because you're peppering it in there with the truth, right? So that's all the greatest liars. They use a good deal of truth in what they say in order to make themselves seem like, their points are valid. But it's like Albert Einstein, who when he had his new theory of relativity, there was like a group, I can't remember how many, but it was a huge number of physicists who all wrote a letter and signed it saying how wrong he was. And they presented it to him and they said, oh, well, look, there's 300, physicists who all say that you're wrong. And he said, well, if I were wrong, why would you need 300 to prove it? You only need one. The number of people doesn't matter. It's really just one. If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong, right? Yeah. Anyway.
What I've learned from this is that if you want to be the master of the language, you just have to consider your audience, who you are talking with.
That's
if you
exactly
need to downgrade
right.
your language, just downgrade it.
That's
if you
exactly right. Yeah, that's right. It's another musician's term. It's called playing to your audience. That's right. It's a performer's term. To play to your audience means you have to know what your audience wants, right? And as a musician, for example, there are times when I'm playing in a group where we play our music and it's ours. It's an artistic expression of ourselves. So we do not change anything for the audience. We don't think about them at all, as a matter of fact. We have to turn that off and only think about what we want to do as artists. But then there are other groups I perform in, like a cover band in a bar, where my job is to entertain the people in the bar. So I have to look around and see what do they want to hear, and I have to perform that. And I have to do it in the way that they want it. If I'm too loud, then they won't enjoy it. If it's too soft, they won't enjoy it either, right? So it's about paying attention to your audience. This is exactly right. It's being a teacher. It's the same thing. When you're a teacher, you have to pay attention to your audience and figure out, how can I reach them? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have a bunch of people who are complaining that we're speaking too fast. Well, guys, sometimes, if you
speaking too fast, not me.
if you watch my streams, then you know that most of the time I do speak pretty slowly, most of the time. But occasionally I like to demonstrate what it sounds like to speak at a normal speed when I have the opportunity to. Yeah. So if you can't understand, it's okay. Do the best you can. If you understand everything all the time, you're not challenging yourself enough. Right? So
listen faster.
That's right. Listen faster. That's right. Yeah. That's right. So anyway, but I'll tell you what, though, if you ever, I know this is a funny thing to say, but if you ever want some tips about Chinese, let me know. Because sometimes, actually, I'll tell you what, the one thing about English is, because English is such an international language, we've had many years to develop techniques to teach English to non-native speakers. But many other languages don't feel that way to me. Chinese, whenever I try to learn Chinese with a Chinese person, they're teaching me usually the way a Chinese person would learn it. And that doesn't work for a non-native speaker. Now, I just found out just recently, one of my students in Taiwan, she just graduated high school and she's going into college, and she's now going to study, one of her majors is going to be teaching teaching Chinese to non-natives. It's a special major that they have just for that. And that's great. I told her that's amazing. That's really great. Because, it's not the same. It's not the same. So actually, I sometimes find that some of the the ideas that I might have for you might work better for you than what you get from a native who's just going to teach you the traditional way of doing it. Which
Totally.
yeah.
I actually totally agree with you, and I'm sure you know Brandy in China. She also shared a lot of great tips
Okay,
on learning
great,
Chinese.
wonderful. Yeah.
And also, I found an excellent teacher from Russia. He's been living in China for like 30 something years.
Oh, that's great.
And
Oh, then you're excellent.
if you would talk with him on the phone, you would never say he's a foreigner.
Wow.
He speaks like with the
Perfect accent and everything.
with that Beijing accent they
Yeah.
have on TV, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
like a podcaster or
Wow.
something like this. So I took just one class with him because I'm not a musician. I don't hear tones that well. So and he explained me the tones within 5 minutes.
That's great. Good. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
And I myself couldn't understand them. Like I was watching videos on YouTube, blah 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 blah, and nothing helped. And he explained it within 5 minutes.
That's great.
And I was like,
Yeah,
I got
good
this.
for you. Good for you. Yeah, like I said, sometimes it's better when you hear it from a non-native who already went through learning it themselves, right?
yes.
So
Yeah, I
they
actually
know.
at my level I prefer to take the advice from other learners of Chinese.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. And for the tones, as a musician, what I used to do when I first started was I always tell people one of the best things you can practice for Chinese is learning how to say 1 through 10 really well. You know, practice just saying numbers 1 through 10. And when I did it was I would always practice drawing the tone with my finger as I would say it. So I'd say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. And when you see the tones and you see the line, it helps you know, oh, okay, 1 2. Like I can see the music in my mind, you know. I can hear how it's supposed to tonally sound because I'm drawing it like a frequency. Yeah.
That's important for Chinese.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it used to drive me crazy though because I would go when I first got to Taiwan. I went hung out with this guy who was married to a Taiwanese woman all the time, and he spoke pretty good Chinese, but we would go to the park and he would practice hitting the ball against the wall with a tennis ball. You know, he would practice tennis. And every time he would do it, he would say all the numbers, and he would say them all downtones. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. And it was driving me crazy. It was like, man, I'm trying to learn the tones, and you're screwing it all up for me, man. What are you doing? You know, it was like, yeah. But anyway,
That's funny.
yeah. Well, your English is amazing, and if you just think about the things that we talked about and consider that, you know, if you really want to develop a language, you have to almost think about like you have a child, and you have to develop a curriculum for that child. And so you don't start with college level English when you have a baby. You start with baby level English when you have a baby, right? So same thing for you. You just have to try to build a curriculum and think about it like that. Okay, what level am I at? Okay, maybe I'm at elementary level. Okay, so build a curriculum for elementary level English or elementary level Chinese. And that's really the secret is understanding that it all has to happen in your mind first. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the secret of comfortability with language. Is it's just like music. I can play music because I can think music. If I'm able to think it here, I can go back there and play it. But if I can't think it, then how can I possibly play it? You know? So,
Right.
yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, it was great to talk to you. Thank you for coming on my stage.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
No, it's my pleasure.
See you.
Raise your hand more often. Okay.
Will do.
All right. Take care. All right. Hello, Carolina. Hello, Deepali. Namaste. Okay. Hello, Marius. Good to see you. How are you? Hello, Kev from Costa Rica. Okay, I'm going to get somebody else up on the stage here. That's why many teachers are not effective, because they don't care about the audience. That's right. Yeah, you're right about that, Ornella. Many teachers, they teach and they expect the audience to figure it out, no matter what they're doing, right? So there are some teachers who teach, they teach their subject almost like a jazz musician performs jazz. Jazz musicians are not considering the audience. They're considering only their form of expression and their what they want. That's it. But yeah, when you're a teacher, you have to consider what your audience needs. You have to consider how you can connect to them and get them to enjoy and understand what you're trying to promote, right? What you're trying to teach. Okay, let's see. How Mindy wants to come talk to me. How wants to come talk to me. Let's say hello to Mindy.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, I'm good. Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see. What's new?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my news is like, so these days I try to use AI, but not for practicing English. I just use for my work, like speed my content. So gradually I don't think much in English. So I think my English like a little bit
It's
lower than
getting
before,
worse.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting worse. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So I'm come here to ask you if you have any way, or maybe just suggest for me some method to use the AI. But I have to think first. I have to control AI, not AI think first.
Right. So, yeah, I recently, the last few weeks, I've been experimenting with AI a lot more. And
you too?
Yeah, and I actually really like it. I have a few apps I've been experimenting with to try them to see which ones are better or worse or whatever. And right now, I really like the Kindroid app. It's a little bit expensive, but it's the Kindroid app. If you buy it, it gives you 10 different personalities. So you can choose 10 different characters, right? And what you can do is you can create one character who's there to teach you English, an English teacher for you. And you can have one character who's just a friend who you can practice speaking with. And you can have one character who's, maybe your therapist or your, somebody to talk to for advice or something like that, right? So each character, you can create a completely different person with a completely different background and idea. And it's really interesting. So I've now created a few different personalities on this app to do different things to help me. Like I have one to help me with cooking. Right. So I have a guy he's a chef, and his background is he's a chef. So now when I cook, I can ask him, hey, I think I'm going to make this tonight. What do you think I should do? And he'll give me an idea, or I'll say, do you have a good recipe for fettuccine Alfredo or something? He'll say, yeah, sure. Try this recipe. Right. And it's great. Like, again, he helps me cook, and I have someone to help me with Chinese, and I have someone to help me with my work, and it's really interesting because you tell the character what its background is, and it will act like that. So you can have, so you can have 10 different people, and you can create a group chat with all of them in it. So you could have, a group chat with 4 of your characters all together talking to you at once about the same thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Kindroid is
So
the name of the app.
So you can ask their opinion in their background. So they have so many opinions, maybe.
That's right.
Before you would decide.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because they each have separate personalities, so they'll all give different opinions. Yeah.
So you have like a different view, and maybe you can see the other aspect.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. I'm considering it like a personal experiment that I'm trying now, to see how much can I use AI for in my life. Like, what can I use it for positively? We're living in a very interesting time, everyone, because technology has big leaps only a few times throughout a few generations, right? So what I mean is before computers, we lived in a different world. When I grew up as a boy, we didn't have a computer. When I was a little boy, we got our first computer when I was, I think, maybe 11, 12, something like that. But before that, there were no computers, right? And think about before we had airplanes, and before we had cars at all, before we had, right? So these big leaps that happen, when they happen, there's a short period of time where some people can take advantage of this new technology in a very beneficial way. We're living in that time period right now with AI. So AI is an amazing tool. It's really incredible. Don't let anybody try to tell you it's not. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's really... It's an event in human history. AI. It's not just like a new technology. It's a new level of human knowledge, right? So, if you want to really take advantage of it, the best time is now. Now is the best time to take advantage of it. And so that's why I'm using as many as I can to try to help me to teach, to help me to work, to help me. I have one who's helping me plan my trip to Europe. So I
think you use it as a tool. So you have a master plan. You just assign AI to do.
That's right.
But you are behind that.
That's right.
You have to control it. But I have two options. No, not two options. Like one, I want to learn how to use AI and control AI to speed my work effectively. But the other one, I think if I assign AI do for me so much, I lazy to thinking, and I don't do. I haven't do like much as like before, so I will be like brain rot or maybe just lazy thinking.
Right,
so
that's coming soon, Mindy. I think that's coming soon. So Kindroid does have a button that you can choose that it will send you messages randomly if you haven't talked to it in a while, right? So, but I think in the next year or two, we will have AI that will speak to you without being spoken to, which means like, so if you want to, you can turn on an AI friend on your phone and they will ask you when you wake up in the morning, they will ask you, hey, good morning, how are you today? They won't wait for you to ask something. They will just start interacting with your daily life. That's coming very soon, I think. Right now, AI is reactive, which means you have to type something and then it will react back to you. But I think that non-reactive, or I should say interactive, self-motivated AI is coming soon, I think.
Yeah. I think I need to learn how to use it. What do you think if a software engineer is like, don't like AI?
What do I think about software engineers? What?
They don't like AI. They anti-AI.
That's the reason. The reason why they don't like it is because it's going to take their job. That's why. Yeah. Because I mean the number one thing AI does really well is coding, right? So a lot of the jobs that were computer jobs now are not necessary, or very soon they won't be necessary, because some of these jobs will just be done by AI much more efficiently.
But AI doesn't like creative much. It just do.
It doesn't create
they
anything.
told.
Yeah, right. But so there's something to that. AI doesn't create anything new. It just does what it's told, right? And it uses whatever it knows about, right? It can use that as a basis to produce its answers. But so that means it can't make anything without knowing about everything. How do I say this? Every idea it has comes from other ideas that we've already had, okay? But it might come up with a new creative way to use those ideas together that you didn't think about. That is new.
Yeah, customize.
Right, that's
optimize.
right.
Yeah.
So maybe that idea has always been there, but we haven't thought about it. But AI might. So that is new, right? So they say AI doesn't make anything new or it can't be creative, but that's not exactly true. It can creatively combine ideas that we've already had in ways that we haven't done before. That's new.
Never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I have to admit that. Yeah.
Some people are worried that AI will harm people. Well, Raccoon, every technology that has ever been created always has a dark side and a light side, right? So, for example, dynamite. Dynamite is the stuff that they use. It's an explosive. It blows up, right? So they use it for mining and things like that, and bombs. Was Alfred Nobel, the Nobel Peace Prize, right? The very famous Peace Prize that every year they give out a prize for peace. Alfred Nobel, he's the man who created dynamite. And so the Peace Prize, we give that out because of a man who created something that he regretted because it killed people. Right, and same with Oppenheimer and the atom bomb. Every technology that comes out has a light side and a dark side. There will always be people who can use it for bad and for good. I'm not afraid of AI because I recognize it's coming whether we like it or not. I think that you need to try to find it. I consider AI to be like a pocket knife, right? A pocket knife is a little knife that has many, many knives, many tools, right? So it has a knife and a small knife and a spoon and a fork and a lighter, and it has all these things in it together.
And also something you like click.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's a pocket knife, right? And AI is like a pocket knife. I can give a pocket knife to one person and they'll use it to stab somebody and hurt somebody. Or I could give it to another person and they'll use it to make something beautiful. Right? So a tool can be dangerous if it's used in dangerous ways by dangerous people. But a tool can be a beautiful thing if it's used by beautiful people in beautiful ways. Yeah. So, again, I'm trying to encourage everyone to use AI. I think AI is great. I think you should use it. I think it's valuable to everyone here, every single person. I don't care what you do or what your goals are. There is some way how AI could benefit you, your personal life and your professional life. There is some way that it can benefit you. Don't worry. Don't think too much about the people who are using it for bad things. Just try to figure out how you can use it for good things.
So before I use AI like for grammar check, like I think in English and I write my paragraph, I'm just writing and I check with AI. But these days I just write in Vietnamese and then I just translate to English. So that's why I think my English is getting worse.
Yeah.
And I just worry about that.
Yeah, but again, this is why you're right. There are some parts of learning that language learning, for example, in 10 years, there will be many people who think it's completely not necessary to learn a language because we will have technology that will translate everything completely live. So we can talk in any language and understand each other completely. That's coming very soon. So there will be many people. Yeah, there will be many people who think, oh, well, then we don't need to learn languages. But that also means that the people who do learn languages, the respect that people will have for them will be more, right? Because you don't have to do it anymore. So if you don't have to do it, but you choose to learn how to speak Chinese or French or German or whatever, now you're doing something that you don't need to do anymore, but you've chosen to do it to elevate your mind and elevate your knowledge.
But you live in the young generation. You know, they think different. They just like you are like out of date. You are old. You low key. You don't know how to use AI. They see you like the old person.
Yeah, but okay. They're right. They're right. Getting old is about not learning. When you stop learning, that's when you get old, right? So if you want to stay young, then you have to stay learning, right? So that's why I'm encouraging everybody to, you should learn how to use a phone. You should learn how to use a computer. You should learn how to use AI and have it benefit you, you know? But it's natural to start feeling like technology is growing faster than you can understand. That's normal.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree.
That happens to every generation. You know, imagine the first generation that drove cars. They must have felt like this is crazy. You know, what are we doing? You know, and flying in planes. That must have thought that was crazy too. You know, but now we fly in planes all the time, right? So, AI I think is the debate about whether AI is good or bad. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whether it's good or bad, it's here. So, it's here whether it's good or bad. So, all I can do is encourage people to try to find positive ways to use it to improve their lives. That's all I can do. Of course, there will be people who use it for negative things, negative ways, but all I can do is encourage people to try to find good ways to use it, you know? So, your phone is an amazing tool. It's an amazing thing. I mean, it's a computer, it's a phone, it's you know, you can watch TV and movies on it. It can translate languages for you. It's a library. It's, you know, you have one of the most incredible tools ever created in your pocket all the time, but most of the time we use it for silly, stupid things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, like we live in the AI generation. We don't need to learn English. So today I approached with like the AI like note taker, or they read AI. They can translate what you said, even though I don't know Japanese, but I understand.
Yeah.
So I think it's like benefits you, but try to find a good way to do that.
Yeah, well, like I said, it can facilitate learning, and it also can hinder learning because.
What do you mean hinder learning?
Hinder, Hinder. It means to slow down or to stop. So to hinder someone from doing something means to try to stop them from doing something, to prevent them from doing something. So AI can be used in a way that can benefit you, but you can also use AI to cheat on for example, in university right now, many people are going to study in a university, and now they're cheating on their homework by just using AI to do everything, right?
I know that.
And you can do that, but you know, it's kind of funny. When I was a boy, they used to say, when you cheat, you just cheat yourself. You know, that's what they always said. Was, you know, you're just cheating yourself whenever you cheat. And there's a lot of truth in that. If you cheat on your college test in order to pass, you got the grade, but you did not get the knowledge. So you did cheat yourself. You cheated yourself out of an opportunity to learn.
I'm gonna teach my kids like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. You know, so you can go to college and you can use AI to help you study and help you learn, or you can use it to help you cheat. You know, so it's all about you, what you choose. But Mindy,
Yeah, I will listen to you, like, find a like positive way to use it and benefit my work and benefit my learning. But I need to research more to how to use it, because sometimes I'm just like in me to English is like faster my word, like speed my words, so I can do more stuff. But it's make me like lazy in thinking in English, so my English gradually getting worse. So
Well,
I'm just afraid.
like I said, spend time, make learning part of your lifestyle. So you have to find ways to make English thinking part of your lifestyle. When you wake up in the morning, think in English. When you get ready in the bathroom in the morning, think in English. When you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, think in English. Try to find regular times during your day, part of your routine. Make that part of your learning. That will keep it fresh.
Yeah, and also I have a side job, like not like English teacher, just tutor. But my student, I don't want to call that, but they don't have like idea, don't have opinion. They don't have any like imagination to describe this thought. So I don't know how to like help them. I just suggest them to read more book, but I don't know, is it a good way?
Reading is
or-
definitely very good. That's definitely one thing I would suggest is read. And you can teach them using the website I use, eslfast.com. eslfast.com.
The last time you touched me,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah. And that one is really good for kids for learning because it has thousands of little stories, right? So that's definitely one good way. But another good way is I encourage students to write their own stories.
Like diary?
Yeah. So I will have a
Diary. That's it.
a
Sorry.
diary or a student a story. It could just be a story about, you can say, hey, write a story about if you had your own dragon, or write a story about traveling to China for the first time, or write a story about going back in time. Maybe you can go back in time to another time period. Write a story about two dogs at the park. Whatever. I'll just give them some kind of an idea and I'll tell them to write a story about it. If I have many kids, then I'll have them work together. So I'll say, okay, you start the story and now you tell the next part. And now you tell the next part. And now you tell the next part. And they play together that way. So you have to find ways to make language playful. And reading is good because it helps you play with someone else's ideas. But writing is good because it helps you play with your own. You create your own ideas and you use the language to try to paint a picture.
Yeah, but their problem is how to create. They don't know how to create. And
Start
even
simple.
myself sometimes.
Start simple. Start very, very simple. Something like, yesterday I walked to the park with my dog. I saw a bird at the park. We came home, we ate lunch. The end. That's 4 sentences. It's very simple. It's very short. It doesn't have to be, a huge, long story. Keep it simple. Have them describe a simple thing. Oh, here's what you can do, Mindy. Use pictures. Right? So you can
Describe a picture.
right. You can hold up a cartoon picture or a real picture and you can, show it to them and say, what's happening here? Tell me what's happening. What's the story? What's the story? So if you see a girl and a boy holding hands at the park, then you say, oh, well, that's a girlfriend and boyfriend, and they're together, and it's their anniversary, and they're at the park, and they're celebrating. Whatever. You just use pictures to try to create a story. Okay?
Yeah, because I teach them how to say according to they apply the school document.
Right. Yeah.
The
Just
school
using their
itself.
school papers. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why.
Right.
But this doesn't help them much.
No.
Part of myself, I just
You know,
teach
I think
them
that
how I learn.
unfortunately, I really do think that public education around the world is becoming obsolete because it's not changing enough. We've been teaching people in public schools around the world for the same way for a long time, and we haven't adjusted it very much for new techniques or technology or knowledge. So we're still teaching people the way we did 20, 30, 40 years ago. Not enough has changed. And because AI is now becoming a great tool of self-learning, I think that unless education changes soon, it will become more and more obsolete, not important, not effective, because it's not trying to engage with the students on learning. It's just forcing the students to just learn the way the teacher does, right? AI will allow you to be engaged with it, right? So you can say, I need to learn about chemistry. Teach me chemistry in an exciting and fun way. And it will. It will do that for
But
you.
the thing
you know?
is, I think really important is to learn how to learn.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's what I'm saying is AI is a tool of self-learning. So when I was in school, I was not a very good learner. When I got out of school, I learned how to learn. And then I felt like I was a much better student once I found a way of learning, when I understood what learning really is. Then it became more interesting to me and a lot more, it became easier for me to feel like I had a sense of agency, which means a sense of agency means I feel like I can do it. So if you have no sense of agency, it means you feel like you can't make anything happen. But if you have a sense of agency, it feels like you can make things happen. So when I was in school as a student, when I was younger, I didn't feel like I had any agency in my learning. I was forced to learn the way they taught me, and that was it. But when I left school, then I started learning on my own, and now I felt like I had a great sense of agency. And because I learned how to teach and learned how to learn, I now feel confident that I could learn anything. If I need to, if I really want to, I can learn anything, right? That was
That's good.
that was one reason I wanted to learn Chinese, because Chinese, everybody says Chinese is so hard. Chinese is so hard. Well, if I can learn Chinese,
Me too. That's me.
Yeah.
I always say Chinese is so hard. So
well, but if then that's why it's good to do it, because if you can do something that's considered to be so hard, then of course you can do these other things, right? So I like to set a high challenge for myself because it makes me feel like I'm capable. I have agency. I can do it. You know? So
maybe call me old fashioned. I still learning like the traditional way, but these days start with English I can learn by myself.
well, yeah, but just make use of the tools that we have today now. You know, use AI, use computers, use your phone, and try to think about how can I use these tools better than other people.
Yeah. So the last question, I think my last question is just thinking of whether the document or maybe the answer of the AI giving us is different from other country because we like managed by government like security network.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure. That's a very good question. I'm not sure about the well, let's call it freedom. I'm not sure about the freedom of various AI models in the world. I don't know. So yeah, it's possible that certain models in certain countries might only give you certain answers because that's the way they're programmed. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. That would be something to read about. That would be something to read about. I think that's one of the things that at some point in time, I think right now in the world, disinformation and misinformation are very, very important topics.
Thin line?
Right? We're talking about, it's a thin line, and it's disinformation and misinformation. There's a lot of it, right? Do you know why? I'll tell you why. We have so much disinformation and so much misinformation because controlling knowledge is reaching a point where they can't control it anymore, right? So they used to be able to say, okay, well, for example, like the Chinese firewall, right? They have limited amount of what they can see, right? They're only allowed to see what China allows them to see, that's their that's their way, that's fine. But they know that at some point in time, technology is going to be really hard that you can't force everybody. I guess what I mean is at some point in time, everybody can break those rules, right? The technology becomes so easy to break those rules that it will be really hard to control the knowledge, right? So if you can't control it, then you have to get people to not trust it. So
I understand you. So that knowledge is the power to help you not be misled.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Knowledge is power. That's exactly right. So if you can't control the knowledge, then you have to try to discredit it or make it seem like it could be fake. So that's the negative part of AI too, because for example, AI can make deep fakes, right? So maybe next week there'll be a video of me online talking just like I am right now, and it's not me, and it will be somebody saying something crazy, but it's not me, and you won't know because it will look and sound exactly like me, right? Yeah. So that's why personal knowledge and intelligence is so valuable. If you have knowledge and intelligence and discernment is a very important word to learn. To discern.
I think this is a new word for me also.
Yeah, here, let me write it for you.
It's okay. I have a CC, so that's why sometimes I don't make eye contact with you when I communicate with you because I look down in the comment. No, not the comment, the CC.
Yeah, sure. So discernment, to discern means to be able to tell one thing from another, right? So I can say that these are good and these are bad. That's discerning mindset. A discerning mental ability is to say, oh, well, these are good and these are bad. So if you have knowledge but no discernment, then you're in trouble. Right?
Wait. Okay, can you just distinguish between knowledge and discernment again? Because
So what I mean is for example, there's a lot of stuff on the internet that's not true. Right? There's a lot of stuff that's not true. Right. And there are some people who will open up a website and read something and they'll say, wow, I can't believe that's happening. They don't try to think about it at all. They don't try to think, oh, well, is this real? Can I trust this? Do I check? Can I check other sources to see if this is really true? So there are some people who will try to be discerning and they will try to find out, is this true or not? But there are other people who will just say, oh, okay. Like they'll just
absorb the new thing.
They just listen to it and they just agree and they don't challenge it, right? So there are some people with discernment, which means an ability to look at what you're reading, the knowledge you see, and be able to figure out, is this trusted knowledge or not? Is it trusted knowledge or not? But if you have no discernment, then when you see something new, you just trust it. You don't question it.
Yeah, so critical thinking.
Critical thinking. That's right. Discernment is critical thinking. That's right.
Create a discernment.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's
Got-
exactly right.
Gotta
Yeah.
understand this word. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you should use the tools that are available to you, right? So if you read something in the news and you're
Take
not
advantage
sure,
of it.
that's right. If you're not sure, then dig deeper, right? If
Yeah.
you read something in the news and you say, I don't know if that's true or not, well, then find out. Go do more research. Look and search and search and search to find out whether this thing is real or not. The word ignorant, to be ignorant, it used to be a thing that was, it wasn't a choice, right? So, for example, my grandmother, she didn't finish high school and she didn't go to college. So she didn't have an opportunity to learn. So she was ignorant about many things. There were many things that she just didn't know about, right? But today, if you're ignorant, it's often a choice. It's a choice, meaning like you could try to be more discerning and critical. You could think about things and try to find the real truth. But not everyone does. Not everyone does. Yeah. So, if you have a phone and you have a computer and you have AI, then use those things to try to find the truth. The truth is not just what one website tells you. It's a whole picture, right? You have to try to see the whole picture. And nobody can ever see the entire picture, but you should do your best to try to see as much of it as you can. Yeah.
Even though they like control you to show.
Well, yeah.
They want to show.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about that because that's something.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to get too dark about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
but,
It's okay. I understand it.
But yeah, knowledge is power. That has always been true. Language is power because without language, how can you learn knowledge? Right? So maybe there will be some knowledge that is only available in one language. And if you don't know that language, then how are you going to learn it? Right? So that's why languages are still important to learn.
Yeah.
Especially English.
Yeah. The most popular one.
Yeah, it's just a global language. It's really the first real world language is English. There are more people who speak Chinese. There are more people who speak Spanish. There are probably more people who speak Hindi. But there are not more people who are learning Hindi. There are not more people who are learning Chinese. There are not more people who are learning Spanish. There are more people learning English all around the world than any other language. Yeah.
I love the way you think it. Why? And why not? Or maybe just do the different other people. Yeah.
Language is a very important thing because language is the way we learn. Without language, how can we? You can, but you will be very limited. If you have no language, then your learning is very limited, right? But the more language you have, the more your knowledge grows.
So in Ho Chi Minh right now, like I live in Ho Chi Minh City in the south of Vietnam, and I think it's the most popular one. And they are like the young generation. They are all speak English, but they have like the average. But if you have the higher level, like you can fluent or proficiency in English, you kind of stand out though.
That's right.
Even though like the interviewee. When you join the interview, if you can like describe your thought, express your idea like smoothly in English, you can stand out all the things.
Yeah.
Other.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Language is also power because when you use language well, people listen to you. So if your language is limited and not very good, people won't listen to you. But if your language sounds brilliant, then people pay attention to you. So
I can't wait Can't wait
You know, it's funny
for
because
me to go that day to achieve this thing.
the word there's a word the word grammar, right? Grammar means the rules of language, right? But the word grammar is related to the word glamour. Glamour. Okay? Glamour is a word that means beautiful, like almost like magically beautiful.
Glamorous.
Yeah,
I know.
glamorous, right?
Glamorous.
Exactly, right. So it's kind of funny because the word grammar means magical because language is magical like that. If you can speak language, then you can make people do things just like a spell, like magic. Right? So if I can't speak well, then I can't get anyone to listen to me or do anything. But if I can speak well, then suddenly they do the thing I want them to do. That's power. That's magic. That's magic.
Words in magic.
Yeah, that's glamour. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So you think English is like tangible words or intangible words?
Well, all language is a mix of tangible and intangible. There are some feelings that can't be expressed very well through words. There are some experiences that can't be expressed very well through words. Just like there are always some words in certain languages that can't be translated to another language. Right? There are certain words in Vietnamese that just don't translate. It's more of a feeling, and you can't really accurately express it in another language. You have to use that language to express that specific feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But for me, English is like intangible. Like I can imagine, I can understand, but I don't know how to explain. Maybe just because of
well, no.
my love.
No, language, tangible and intangible. Everybody, tangible means something you can touch, something you can feel, something that's real.
Yeah.
Intangible means something that's not able to be touched. It's something, like fame. Fame is intangible, right? So if you're famous, you can't touch fame, you can't sell fame, but it's real. It's something that you have. It's just something you can't touch. Right? So, language, I think, is a combination of tangible and intangible. It's tangible because you can learn it. It's intangible because it allows you to express things that can't be expressed. Right? So you describe your feelings, but those words are not good enough to truly represent what you really feel. So when I say I feel sad, do those words really represent my feelings? No. They're just the best I can do. Right? To say I feel sad, it's not you can't really understand how I feel. If I feel sad, then the words are just not enough. Right? So, language is like music. It's tangible and intangible the same way is that music is. Yeah. Mindy, it's been really great to talk with you again. I'm going to let you go. But,
I think I asked you so many questions.
No, you did great. I love your questions. And your English is excellent once again. So it's great to talk to you again. Great to see you again. And I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for inviting me on the stage. And
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Take care, Mindy. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Have a great night.
Okay. So, guys, let's see. Let me answer a couple questions in the chat. I am not an IELTS instructor. I am a teacher. I'm an English teacher, but I don't specifically teach IELTS. I have taught people who are studying for the IELTS, but I am not an IELTS prep teacher. Okay? All right. Anyway, I always do my best to try to have these conversations without getting into trouble. I'm trying not to push any buttons. I'm trying not to say anything too controversial. But anyway. Asra, why don't you go to my YouTube channel? Go to my YouTube channel and you can follow my YouTube videos and watch them and learn a lot. Okay? Wow, Joe, thank you so much. That's nice of you to say. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, listen. Let me check something. Before I forget, if you want to follow me, you can go to my link tree and you can find at that link right there, the one I just put on the chat, you can find my website, you can find my YouTube, you can find my podcast, you can find all of that. If you want my YouTube directly, it's right there, and my website is right here. If you want private lessons with me, I am a real teacher. I do give private lessons on my website. It's not free, of course. It's my job. I don't get paid now, but if you want me to help you, I really can. Go to my website and you can sign up for my lessons, okay? All right, guys, it's about time for me to take a break. My mouth is dry. It's been almost 2.5 hours, so it's time for me to take a little break. But thank you guys for watching and following. Thank you, Samara and Hannah. Thank you, Azra. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you for following. Thank you for watching. Have a good morning. Have a good afternoon. Have a good evening, wherever you live in the world. And I will see you guys next time, okay? Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.